What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning to another episode of Right on Cue Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Logan Chestnut, Small Batch Barbecue. And joining me tonight is, no one. It's just me. I'm holding down the fort myself. The boys have left me to fend for myself. So, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. I do not take responsibility, as always, for my actions. So, it's on them. But no, man, guys, thank y'all for hanging in and hanging out with me here tonight. It's been a little crazy around here lately. Got a lot of stuff to get handled here before some big stuff coming up. So I am on this like barbecue lull right now where I just I don't know what to do with myself. So I really don't have any contests until September, which is killing me because I really haven't done. How many have I done? I've done, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've done 4 this year so far, and one of them was a double. So I don't know if that counts as 2. I guess it kind of does. But no, man, it's fun. Like I feel like I was supposed to do, Smoke on the Shore starting up the season. I missed that one because damn car wreck. And then I'm not able to do the one down in Alabama. Anyways, at the casino, drawing a blank, but it's a badass with a badass trophies. I hate to miss that one. Pussycute, damn it, I can't. I'm terrible tonight. So we'll see how it goes. I miss my barbecue fam, but I get to hang out with you guys, and you get to hang out with me. So lucky you. But yeah, man. So tonight we have an excellent guest. I met this guy for the first time at the KCBS Invitational here a couple weeks ago, and I was thoroughly impressed. It was funny. So as soon as we showed up to the contest, my buddy Eric Cotton from Cotton Barbecue, he said, I guarantee this guy wins it. He said he's going to be one of the favorites this weekend. I'm like, I don't know, man. There's I mean, if y'all are paid attention to the KCBS World Invitational, there's a lot of heavy hitters and a lot of people who have had plenty of success in the barbecue world. A lot of world champions. I'm like, I don't know, man. That's a pretty big statement. And I mean, I said that about myself, but that didn't work out. Stupid electro cuties. But this guy, like I said, I mean, he showed up and showed out, and I heard his name more than I heard my own name talking to myself. So I mean, it was an impressive outing, and I was very impressed by this guy. He also has a lot of similarities to us. He started off in the backyard route and then made the jump, so he definitely sees both sides of the coin. So I was very, very excited to get to talk to this guy and learn some of his secrets. And so hang around. I'm gonna try to share as much information as I can off this guy because he is on fire, coming off a GC last weekend or 2 weeks ago. So I mean, whatever this guy's doing, he's doing it well. So without further ado, let's welcome to the stage Mr. Ryan Cain from Damn Fine Beef and Swine.
Hey, what's going on,
man?
Logan? How are you, dude?
Good, man, dude. First off, I'm gonna get out of the way. I have beard envy. I mean, that thing is luscious and full, and I want mine to grow. It's like a little fledgling, and it needs to grow into an eagle and fly.
Dude, my wife and I saw the guy from Electrocute, and we're like, "Oh shit, no, that's okay."
Yeah,
that puts me to shame pretty good there,
dude. But I'm gonna put you and Brian on a team. Yeah, you cook together one time, be ZZ Top or something like that. Well, some play off of that. That'd be like the beard guys.
Oh yeah, Piggy Stardust.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. No, yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciate you for coming on our humble show and taking time out of your schedule of kicking everybody's ass to hang out with us tonight. And it was awesome meeting you and hearing your name a lot last time I saw you. So but yeah, man, so for the viewers that don't know who you are and haven't been to a contest where they call your name all the time, let people know who you are and where Damn Fine came from.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Ryan. I cook with my wife Kim, and then sometimes my dad, who we call Pops or El Jefe, when we can. We live in Lee Summit, Missouri, so a suburb of Kansas City. That's primarily where we cook at. We'll travel out, once or twice a year. We've got a 1.5-year old at home right now, so trying to take long trips is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely imagine.
And we had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So how long have you been doing this competition cooking scene?
So we started in 2021, right after COVID. During COVID, I started working at what was then KC Grilling Company in
Hmm.
Olathe, Kansas. There's a lot of comp guys that worked there for Delicious Barbecue, Meat Rushmore, JDQ. And so they looked like they were having a ton of fun, and I was like, "Can you guys teach me some comp barbecue stuff?" So I was really lucky to have a lot of people kind of step up and show me what was going on, and then we started cooking in the backyard in March of 21. The backyard American Royal was our first contest, and we won that one. And then we did another one about a month later in Derby, Kansas, and we won that. And we're like, oh, okay, all right, okay, this is fun. Let's keep doing this.
Yeah.
So when we started, it was out of the back of a Subaru with 2 drums and sleeping in there. And now we've got a 32-foot toy hauler and lots of debt.
That's like a common theme for all competition barbecuers. It's like, yeah, we won some bowling trophies, and then now we're in debt over we cooking meat in a parking lot.
Yeah,
It's essentially what it is.
yeah,
Man,
100%.
you came out the gate like hot. Were you like, oh, this shit's easy? Like, well, I don't know where all these people are talking. Well, I mean, granted though, like who your mentors were and or like, who like you started off learning from. I mean, it's not a bad group of guys.
No, 100%. I've told anybody that's asked that I had a lot of advantages that a lot of people that get started in KCBS barbecue didn't have. Because I wasn't going into my first contest wondering what was going to work. I
Yeah.
knew what was likely to work. It was just whether or not I could cook it and execute it. But I had flavor profiles that were tested in KCBS. They showed me about process and time and all that kind of stuff. And it was really just for me to put the two together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's a lot of it. What it is. I mean, especially with those guys that you mentioned. I mean, they definitely know what they're doing and definitely have a process. I'm sure they shared with you. So, I mean, coming out the gate, like most people who come out the gate, you're more probably a drinking team than you are a barbecue team, as it's usually a common theme
Right.
that I've seen. That's what we were for sure. But I mean, you know were blessed with having the dream team of mentors and kind of guiding your way. And I mean that definitely shortened the learning curve for sure. And then also, I mean, people starting off taking classes. I mean that's definitely shortened the learning curve. But from starting out where you were to now, I mean, Lord, your first year in competition barbecue, you pretty much, I mean, they didn't have the official title, but you're team of the year in backyard. I mean, you're having I'm glad you mentioned electrocuted. I mean, they're having a similar season. I think it's the beard. I don't think it's your barbecue cooking talent. I think it's like you got to have a lush, like a nice beard to bring the good luck to you in the barbecue gods. Uh, but so like going from that, you kind of burned through. How many comps did you do your first year?
I think we looked at it. It was just under 20, so it was either 18 or 19 with the KCBS Backyard Invitational included in that,
So
which
I mean, you
which
can't.
back then was in November.
Right. So you came out the gate swinging then, like 20 comps. I mean, that's a. Did you come out saying, I'm points chasing or I'm going to go for it this year? I guess. I mean, or did you just keep winning? You're like, oh, this is kind of fun. It's paying for itself.
I mean, yeah, it was kind of the latter of that. I've never been the type of person that kind of half-asses anything. I get really kind of obsessive about stuff. So then when we started doing it and then started winning, I was 100% in, to the detriment of my wife staying home a lot and doing stuff like that. We didn't have kids at this point, but yeah, I was 100% in. So any contest I could feasibly get to, I tried to be there. And then the points started showing up and things like that, and we go, oh, and that just fuels the fire. I think anybody that does the the points chase, whether it's backyard or master series, there's not a lot of reward at the end of the season for doing that other than pride. And there's a little bit of money, but it's mainly just we're working off our own egos, and mine
Mm,
was definitely big by the end of that first season, that I wanted every bit of it I could get.
right. So after the season you had, initially in backyard, you're like, all right, this it's not challenging me enough, or I guess you had enough of consistent success. You're like, let's make the jump, or
So actually, no. I started 2022 in backyard. We did two contests, I think. We won one of the two. And then there was a contest in Derby, Kansas that was a Master Series contest that it was a first year for a Master Series. We had done the backyard one the year prior,
mm-hmm,
and they needed, I think, one more team to hit a qualifier. So
mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I know most of the guys there. This should be a safe. I'm like, this would be a safe dip your toe in kind of Masters experience. Well, we reserved it. So based on the old rules, we kind of lost our backyard eligibility right then and there, and haven't really looked back since. But yeah, that was play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
That's always the game. I lose and still get stupid prizes, but no, that's crazy. So your first pro, I mean, you're just like breaking all kinds of the barriers. Like usually they say, what they say, the average it takes, was it 15 comps or some 20 comps to get your first GC on average or something like that.
Yeah, I think our
Uh,
first Master Series took us nine or 10. Like I said, we had the reserve. We may have had another reserve in that period too, but the first GC didn't come till September of 22.
yeah,
And
you
that
got
was a 50 team contest in Omaha that actually sent us to the Jack.
that. So your first, oh, it's not fair. I mean, it's
Yeah, well
not.
that was that contest was actually an auto to the Jack because it was the only contest in Nebraska for that year. And so I mean there were some very good teams that were there, and we rolled in late because that was Memorial Day weekend. We rolled in late Saturday. I think we were the last ones to arrive, and I was as shocked as pretty much anybody was at that point. But yeah, that actually sent us to the Jack, which was pretty cool and probably not fair for a lot of people.
No, it's not. I will say it
Yeah.
for everybody who's listening and watching. You suck.
Yeah.
Uh no, man, it's like getting mad at lottery winners. But no, but obviously you put the effort in, you put the time. I mean, you're right out the gate, like you said, you don't half-ass anything. I'm sure you have, like, you're kind of like me when you get into a hobby, you're become borderline obsessed. So were you just like consuming as much like information and knowledge as you can your first year? Were you like just annoying the hell out of Fergie and all them guys up there for tips, or like what were you doing? Like what's your like
Um,
learning curve process look like?
Kind of a mix of both, right? Like a lot of it was asking information, when I was working, or trying to be as subtle about asking for information as you could, and then
Shame.
asking to be involved, right? So when there'd be a comp class held at the store, asking if I can work that day so I can overhear or if I can be in the room. And then it came down to, once I figured out I kind of did want to try this out, I straight up just asked, I go, can I cook during, at the store during the day? And you critique and you do this, and it was everybody that worked there, that was doing comp barbecue, plus people who didn't work there that were doing comp barbecue and were, either sponsored teams or just people who shopped in the store. There was no shortage of advice and feedback and help that I got before I started, and even after that, right? So
Mhm.
it was cool.
Nice, man. So starting off in competition barbecue, I mean, like, so you kind of shortened the learning curve, but what is the cooking equipment you started off on, and has it varied since any of your seasons?
No, it started with two gateway drums, and now we have four gateway drums. But most of the time, actually, for the last probably half a season, I run three. More often than not, if it's a bigger contest or there's an ancillary, I'll bring the fourth. The fourth one is in the trailer right now because we had it for a couple contests back. But I started running three because I accidentally dropped one off the back of our porch and just dented the shit out of it, and couldn't get the lid back on. So that was out of commission for a while, and I didn't really feel like going to buy another drum. So I kind of just learned how to adjust things left to right, uh, to fit what I needed to do just on three. And I kind of liked running that way. But
Mhm.
yeah, we'll run 3 or 4 drums more often, pretty much every contest.
I got you. So what are you double dipping on your cans? So obviously I'm sure you got one for chicken that's probably by itself, and then ribs and pork on the same one, I'm assuming, or and then brisket.
So I don't cook a lot of pork, and I only cook a brisket flat. So I can run my pork butt, and so I cook one pork butt, and then I cook 4 CT butt, just money muscles off of CTs, 3 or 4
Okay.
of those. Um, and so I can fit, based on the way my timeline's set up, my brisket flat and my pork butt both go on at 5:30. They go on the same drum. And then about an hour later, I'll light the rib drum, and then at 7 a.m. my money muscles go on. They'll go on the rib drum. By by the time that my ribs go on, pork or brisket, something can shift a little bit, and I can switch them over and put my ribs on that. If I have to run ribs on the chicken drum, because I don't run any wood on the chicken drum, just lump charcoal.
Mhm.
Same with ribs. I can kind of start on one and move around. It probably looks ridiculous to anybody that would be cooking with me that hasn't seen that before, but because I don't cook a ton, like as far as commodity wise, it's really not that bad. I'm not crowding anything to get it on there.
I got you. That was one thing I kind of struggle with because I do hybrid, style like a lot of people do. I have a Lone Star cabinet pellet smoker, and then I run a Brockhouse smoker, which is a can smoker, same way with a gateway drum. Start all my meats on the can, and then move it over to the pellet grill to kind of finish it off. What is one thing you think advantage gives on the can versus other cooking methods? Like, have you always just wanted to cook cans, or you ever wanted to venture over into like the offsets, like Outlaws, or is there
Um,
another kind?
I've always wanted to try cooking on an outlaw. We used to sell them at the barbecue store, and so but I never had the opportunity to cook on one. Um, they look awesome. So for me, the reason for starting with drums was the portability.
Mm,
So, like I said, I started cooking out of the back of a Subaru. So I had a little basket on the back of that. I could physically lift a drum into the basket, so I could run 2 of those. They didn't take up much room. I didn't have power, so I wasn't thinking about running a pellet cooker. And you just kind of got used to cooking that way. And then switching from 2 to 4 wasn't really much more of a thing. Once you learn how to run fire management on whatever you're cooking on, it's the same regardless of how many you have. I think like I said, I'd love to try what an offset would be like, because then you're only managing one fire, not 4. Which
mm,
is probably another reason I kind of like running the 3 sometimes, because it's just
mm,
one less thing to monitor. And my chicken and my ribs run at the same temp, and my pork and brisket start at the same temps, and then so it's really, we're just kind of doubling up the same thing when we have 4. But yeah, it was the portability that kind of started it for me.
sure. What is I'm gonna try to pick your brain here a little bit. What is like one something that you learned, generically, from the guys at the store when you're starting off that kind of helped you out on the front end.
I would say honestly, the two biggest things that I learned, when before I had even cooked a contest, was only put the best in the box, right? So don't get overzealous and just load the thing up. And the
Mm,
other thing was, it's very much a work your timeline, control what you can control. So to me, or kind of, so I'll give one guy credit for this, Jeremy Williams, who cooks JDQ barbecue, that cooks with DeWitt. um, he always said it, appearance is the one thing you 100% have control over. And I've always taken that to heart. And that starts with how we build our boxes. So we do really nice kale. I used to do parsley, but it's always been the putting green. Even if it takes me 2.5 hours to build boxes, it doesn't anymore, thankfully, but it did for a while. And that's just because we can't really control tenderness and taste. That's a little more subjective to the judge. We can
mm,
do our best to give them what they want, but that's not entirely in our control. But appearance is.
mm,
You don't have to. If I'm going to spend all this money, all this time, all this effort, if my ass is getting up at 4 in the morning, man, I better put something that looks good in the box too, right? Like why would I skimp out when it comes to that portion of it?
Right.
So that's something that kind of really stuck with me, and I've always tried to do since then. And it's something I still believe in doing. Even if I would rather be hanging out and socializing, I'll sit in there and build a box.
Yeah. Uh, oh, I mean, appearance is definitely something. I hate that. I always hate when you turn in boxes. I always try to make pretty boxes. I mean, I don't always have pretty food, but I always try to make pretty boxes. But I hate when I get like an 8 in appearance. Cause I'm like, man, that's especially as tight as scores are nowadays on both sides of the, pro and backyard at this point. I mean, 1 point's a, killer. And
Right.
if you lose that from appearance, and then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But yeah, definitely. What is your opinion on like KCBS with the kale and all that versus something like a CBA who runs no garnishment? Because I have hated and loved both. Uh, would you could do away with the garnishment if you could, or did you like it?
I like it. So I'll say on Friday night, I wish it was a CBA event and I wasn't having to build boxes. But on
Right,
Saturday, when I'm turning stuff in, I'm really happy that it's there because I've always felt that it's made what else it's made the meat I've put in the box look better. That's what its purpose is.
right.
It's a visual enhancement. And I think it just looks pretty sitting on a bed of green.
It does.
And so I've always kind of looked at it as all part of one, all part of the, even though that's not technically scored, it's all part of the appearance, right? You
Mhm.
open that box, it looks nice, and I go, oh yeah, that looks good. That to me, that's me putting all of my effort into it the same way that I want them to put all their effort in judging.
Sure. No, it's funny. So like I cooked have you cooked one of those rib cook-offs yet? The rib cook-off associations?
I have not, but they look like a lot of fun, and we've got a few friends that have done it and have done really well at them. And they look good. It just hasn't lined up with our
Right.
schedule yet.
Well, I did one. I got lucky enough. They did like it was a day before, kind of like not an ancillary, but it was like a rib burn essentially the day before a double header. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sign up. I'm already here. Might as well do it. And it's so funny because they don't run garnishment. They run just aluminum foil in the box. And I turn my ribs in like I always turn in, and I put it in. I'm like, damn, that's dark. I'm like, why do these ribs look so dark whenever I put them in? They didn't look pretty to me. And I cooked the exact same ribs the next day and put them in that kale box, and they had that beautiful red mahogany that I get. And I'm like, all the ribs that I saw just look so burnt. And I guess
Right.
it's just because you put the border around it and it kind of brings out the colors that are on the rib. I don't know.
Yeah, that contrast I think really helps.
Yeah. And it definitely hides stuff. Like I've definitely, have used kale to kind of prop stuff up that won't stay. There's nothing worse when you do like, I'm sure you had it where like you have like 4 bones that are really good out of one rack is perfect, and then maybe like 2 out of another, or maybe you don't. I don't know. But like you can't get those 2 separate racks like line up just perfect. So I'll take a little extra kale and like prop one side up because it keeps flopping over.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean we've definitely been there. More recently than not, we've been running. So we used to do, the 4-on-4 all the time, and occasionally, and if DeWitt from JDQ is listening, or anybody, he knows I. So the first year that we
Yeah.
cooked the Royal, I was cooking with them, and I was just doing the ribs and the turkey, and I was like, damn, ribs are good today, and I was like, I want to do 5-on-5. And they're like, oh, you want to do a 5? I'm like, yeah, man, big dick swinging. So it's like I've always felt that putting in 5-on-5 is a big. So I've done that many more times than I should. But the last year or so, I really kind of scaled that back to putting in, more often than not 6 total. Um, because usually I think most people, if you're cooking 3 or 4 slabs, there's that one slab that you're like, damn, that's the best.
Yeah.
Even if there's a second slab that's almost as good, there's probably still one that characteristically in the back of your head, you're going, that's the best slab. And so if I can get 4 out of that and then 2 from my second best, I feel like I have a better chance than putting 8 bones in the box. And then maybe I was off on, the tenderness on one of those bones.
Yeah.
So it's been kind of scaling back and fighting my better urge to want to just, you know, lay it all out there, so to speak, and throw it all in.
Man, I had one of those days. It wasn't this year's last year. You ever like I cooked 4 racks of ribs and 2 racks are just you ever had that like they're just money, like you're just perfect. And so I put 6 on 6 and I put 12 bones in a box and that never does well. I don't care who does it. 12 bones never score.
We could have done that or we probably, I'll preface by saying we absolutely should not have done that this weekend. We didn't,
No.
but we could have because the boxes that we had in Marysville were not the hefty boxes, the normal ones that you get. They were slightly larger. And so when we were cutting our ribs, I was like, I've got 6 here that I really like. I go, I bet 6 in a row fits in this box pretty well. And they did. And that's what we ran. And I posted a photo about it. Those were 12th place ribs. They didn't get a call, but I was still like, I just liked the way that looked. It looked nice to have one clean row going across the middle. So
That's so hard to do because I feel like as much as KCBS tries to keep everything, constant, there's some comps you go to and like they have some like midget like turn-in boxes, whereas like I'm like you're trying to put the same amount as you normally do. I'm like especially with chicken thighs. I find it with chicken thighs. I cook big chicken thighs and I'm putting them in the box. I'm like, why is this thing like I'm trying to like shove double D chicken thighs like a C box and
100%.
it's not working. And I'm like, can we all have a standard, like order them all from the same place and get your turn-in boxes because it was throwing my mojo off.
I know they try to do that. Like those hefty boxes are the ones that they all try to get. And they try to get them from, I may be speaking out of turn. I think they're getting them from Restaurant Depot.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all try to have the same ones, but sometimes stuff happens, right? And
Sure.
maybe they just couldn't get them. So this past weekend was one of those cases where like we got it and we're like, these are slightly not as deep, but they're like they feel bigger. They look like they were a half-inch bigger or something like that. But yeah, we cook big chicken as well, and we've got buddies who do chicken. They do thighs and wings. There's no way in hell we could put wings in the box with our chicken. We've done it
Mm-hmm.
one time. It was at the Jack, and I'm pretty sure I broke both of the clasps trying to close the box. Like, it is what it is. But that's not that. I'm not adding extra work for myself.
No, and I'm glad you said that. Like less is more. That's something that the more I cook competition barbecue, I've kind of, have come to learn. Even with like how many you cook thighs, right?
Yeah.
So how many thighs do you start off with?
So I'll buy, if they're bigger packages, I'll buy 18 to 24. We'll take 16, so 2 trays of 8. And I dedicate, when I trim them, I know which are going to be my middle 4 in each pan, and I know which are going to be my corner pieces. I identify them ahead of time. And so yeah, we cook 8 in 2 pans of 8, and then obviously we turn in 6.
Sure. See, I forgot who I learned or who said this, and I'm cooking less now. So like I pretty much cook 10 to 9 starting off, and I just cook one pan. I'll do 10 and I'll sacrifice one kinky one that won't fit because I can only get 9 in a pan, and that's really squeezing it. I think just because I'm so ADD, I don't want to like watch both. I mean, I probably should cook more just to have more options with chicken. But I found like the fewer I cook, the more I focus on, what I have in front of me. Like ribs, I'm cooking 3 racks of ribs now, and I'll do 3 pork butts and stuff like that. And it's helped me focus more. But I mean, it probably, I probably need to for the bigger comps. I always, jack it up like I always do.
I kind of do the same thing, to be honest. Like I said, we cook the 2 pans of chicken. But I still, like, even through the point of saucing our chicken, I keep them separate. So I know I'm pulling from one pan and I'm pulling from the other. I'll only really mix the 2 if I have to. Ideally, I don't have to use any of the cornered pieces, but there's days when sometimes those end up being the better ones. But I'm temping everything. I'm probing every single thigh just to know if they're different. But if I can keep them in the same pan, because maybe something, maybe it was hotter on one side of the drum or something, this, that, or the other, I try to limit the variables. But as far as cooking less, like we did 3 slabs last weekend. I really liked it because I just added an extra bone onto each slab, which fits. If you're kind of limited to the amount of bones you can put with 4 slabs on a drum, just by working around a circle. You don't have the space for it.
Mm.
But then we cook 3 or 4 money muscles only, and then 1 pork butt. And I like doing that because I can focus on just the money muscle. on the money muscles, and then only the bacon on the pork butt. I don't care about the rest of it. I can't get two things to temp out at the same time, so I don't even give myself the opportunity to go down that path. I just focus on one thing on each meat.
Right. I've watched some classes on Barbecue Champs Academy, and I'll shout out, Bill Purvis. Like he's probing all of his muscles, and they're all within like 1 degree of each other. I'm like, are you a wizard? Like I couldn't do that if I like sous vide them. I couldn't do that. They're all like within 1 degree of each other. Like I'd literally like 30-minute difference between one and the other. Maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm screwing it up, or maybe he's figured it out. But yeah, definitely temping. I used to just probe one and be like, all right, then that's good for all of them. But now I learned that, especially with chicken, like I would put like my little thermopin, or not thermopin, my little probe, and a fireboard probe or whatever, and I put them in there, and I'm like, all right, whenever this hits, this temperature, then I'll just pull the whole pan. And one day I didn't have my probe, and I started probing all of them a little bit, and I was like, oh crap, this is definitely definitely a big swing between the two. Like one was like over, borderline mush, and the other ones are perfect. So I started now like probing every single piece on the side. Some people are worried about, probing their turn in, because we all would put the chicken in a pan. I feel like I do. I mean, you just sound like you do too, but like which ones you're turning in.
I mean, a lot of times if they're all temping the same, they've all been they were weighed before I trimmed them, weighed after I trimmed them. They were sorted into by center pieces versus corner pieces. Those have been weighed. I'm temping them at the end to see if something's variably different, but they're all going to basically. That's why I keep them separate in those two pans, because even with them both being on the same drum, everything's the same weight, all these variables are the same. Those two pans, when I pull them off or when I go to check them at 1125, they may not be the same temp. And so that's why I'm not going, okay, I assume because the inside pieces on this pan are good, these ones may not be. So yeah, I mean, I haven't figured out a way to just regulate all that without having to probe them all.
Right. Do you run what am I trying to say? Do you run do you run straight flames in your cans, or do you have help me out, smoke deflector, or
the diffuser?
Thank you. Gosh, I'm in brain farts.
No, you're good. I run a diffuser in our rib drum and our chicken drum, but I don't run them in the pork or brisket drums. I run a water pan in those, just on one side.
Sure.
Because when I was learning brisket, that was what I was shown, and so that's what I've done. The diffusers run in the rib and chicken drum because I bought them when I bought the drums, and I've just always done it. I can't tell you whether I think it's 100% necessary, but it's always been necessary for me.
See, I don't. I run straight flame on the chicken and ribs. Ribs I'll run the pan though. But chicken, I think sometimes like I'll trim mine out and they'll all be beautiful and they look like nice pillows. And when I take them off the pizza screen, they look like beautiful little pillows and look perfect. I'm like, all right, nice. Then I put them in the butter bath and I put them back on the can. I guess it's that direct heat coming straight from the bottom of the can on the. Sometimes you ever like, once you put them in the butter bath, you open it up and a couple of them got wonky on you. Have you ever seen that? And I'm guessing that's what's happening because I have direct flame going straight to the pan, and maybe that's why it's cooking it too hot or something. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that aspect of it out because I see people like, you or Weeze or Electrocuted or any of those guys, and you see their, the chickens are just perfect every single time. I'm like, man, what am I doing? Because they go in like that, they come out just fugly. It's like I have two different people to the dance. Like I dance with one person and then wake up the next morning, it's this one. I'm like, oh, that ain't right.
Yeah, we'll get some that are randomly gonna kind of go weird inside the pan. It's happened a lot less more recently. I don't know why, other than I think we've kind of tried to keep our chicken colder right before cooking. So maybe it's not having as much time to relax. The muscles are just getting hit with heat and tightening up. I'm not a food scientist. That could be completely inaccurate. But yeah, I mean, we'll still have the wonky ones. We do a trim after they come out of the butter bath too.
Sure.
Not super aggressive, but just clipping up anything that looks weird. And you can fix a lot of stuff that way.
I got you. Do you brine and inject, or are you just on one or the other boards on yours?
Yep, we do both. I brine on Fridays, and then Saturday morning or contest morning at 5:30 I inject.
Okay.
And I inject day of because my big meets go on at 5:30 and then there's not a lot going on. And I desperately want to sit down on the couch and play on my phone and probably take a nap. So I gave myself something to do,
Right.
and that helps.
Oh, fair enough, mate. Idle hands are the devil's playground, right?
Yeah, I've always it's because I cook because I do cook alone a lot, or we cook with limited help. I try to make sure that I can handle all the process and things don't overlap. I've built the timeline that way. And
Mhm.
so if I can slot something in to give me something to do, it just helps keep me on task.
Absolutely. So let me bring it back to, like I said, you've cooked both sides of the coin, backyard and pro. What is one thing that you think differentiates the two? Like when you made a jump from backyard to pro, what is one thing that you had to do differently to still, compete with everybody, and they say the next level, but I mean, at the next, four meets versus two, what was the biggest, hardest transition for you?
I think it's how to approach it's how to read the game and how to approach it. So backyard, you have to swing for the fences on both meets, right? You have to
Mhm.
try to hit a home run on one because if you don't win one of the categories, your odds of
Yeah.
winning, unless it's a large contest, are fairly low. Or you have to try to average really high on both. Masters Series contests are a game of averages, and that was very true in Tennessee. It is not who is the best at chicken or who is the best at ribs. It is who is the most consistent over four meats. So it's a game of averages versus trying to hit a home run on one of two or two.
I got you. Was it difficult? Like I said, when you made the jump, you start, I mean, cooking pork, and then, I mean, pork's not really, I don't think, that big of a challenge for people making the jump. I mean, the biggest one of all of them is when we brisket. What, did you, like, how many briskets did you cook, or you just kind of just trial by error whenever you first
So
made that leap?
brisket. So this has not been the case, in the last couple of years. When we first switched over, pork was my Achilles heel. That was the one I was struggling with, and that was because that was the first time I was trying to get multiple things out of one meat. So trying to
Mhm.
get a money muscle, trying to get pulled. And it took a really long time for me to get to the point where I'm at now, where I'm handling those separately. And that was the key for me on that. Brisket weirdly was hitting when we first started cooking. And I think the brisket we turned in at our very first Master Series contest was the at the absolute most the second comp brisket I have ever cooked, and I think we won brisket. But ask me how I feel about brisket now. And that's a really expensive thing to fuck up a lot. But it's we're hopefully getting it a little more square track, but it's still the one that frustrates me the most. And I think it's because of the financial investment.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, like I said, you have one brisket. I mean, we're not the team that we don't take two. We take
Right.
one brisket flat. I don't cook points. And when you mess that up at the end of the day, it hurts to finish your day that way.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought it up as far as, like, the pro side of it, law of averages. Uh, and like you said, I mean, you can do great, and then, with pro, I feel like with pro, if you just do, it's like kind of like NASCAR. As long as polling, you're getting like top tens, top tens, top tens, then you got a really good chance. Or even, I mean, what do you say, like, across the board? Like, if you get these big comps, most comps have like 25 teams. If you get top, a couple top tens and a couple top 15s, I mean, you're in the hunt for most of them. Or what is something you're shooting for?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of want to get. I think for like the smaller 25 team contests, I do think you probably want to be top five in at least two categories,
Mm,
because somebody else is going to, right?
mm,
Like if you're a 25 team contest, there's four tables, maybe five if they sit weird. If it's 30 teams, there's maybe five tables. So everybody's hitting exactly the same judging, the same tables at least. Um, and somebody's probably going to be really good on a couple of those. If they're an average 4 tables and they're not a table of death or an angel table. So it's really, you want to kind of be in the hunt in all of them. You don't want to have that one big drop off, because that one drop off category is probably what's going to kill you at the end of the day. Um, Doubly true at a big contest like the Invitational or the Royal. Maybe you don't need 3 calls. Maybe you need 1 or 2. Like we reserved the Royal 2 years ago with 1 call, a 16th place call. That was enough because the other calls were somewhere in the 30s, right? And that's fine when you have 200 plus teams or however many teams were in the Invitational that year. But then in Tennessee a few weeks ago, we won 2 categories with first places and had a 4th in the other, but then had an 82nd place brisket, and asked me how that ended. Right. So,
Yeah,
so yeah, you can't, it's like, that's why I swear by it's a game of averages. It's consistency and being, you don't have to win categories in Master Series contests to win the contest. You just have to be in the hunt.
right. Well, that, I mean, like I said, not to throw salt and wounds or anything, but like, it was funny that you're talking about that. My buddy, like you said, before the contest even started, he's like, this guy's is in the hunt to win it all, and then literally first thing 180 chicken, and then it was like another 180 ribs. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I hope he didn't put money on that, because I wouldn't have put money on us for that scenario.
And then 178.8, I think, would you have like a 178.8 or something like that? Was crazy.
Yeah, we had a perfect chicken. We had a 178 something in ribs, which was 4th place. We had a 180 in pork, but then we had a 166 in brisket, and so we came in 4th.
Wow.
And absolutely hats off to Brian Payton from Meet Me in St. Louis. They were the most consistent cook on the day. They
Right.
100% deserved to win, because that's what it takes to win.
Yeah.
I mean, I certainly can't say that. I mean, in the moment, we're super happy, right?
Sure.
We made money. We're gonna go home happy. It's all gravy. Because honestly, we went to the Invitational the year before, when it was there as well, and we sat on our hands both days. So I went back and forth with myself a lot about whether or not it even made sense for us to go. But then when we realized we had some, my dad was going to watch our daughter, and we were going to get to kind of hang out with our friends and do a kid-free weekend, it made sense to go
No, you
down
got
there.
to. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And so everything that happened on Saturday was unexpected and awesome, but that 10-hour drive home, I was less excited. And because I was stuck with my own thoughts and stuck with the
Yeah.
opportunity I let slip. And I reached out to a few people who I really respect, and they gave me some really good advice. And they've, people who've been in that position and have come out on the winning end of it, come out on the losing end of it.
Yeah.
And, and it's not fun to look at a world championship, if we consider that one, and
For sure.
know that you were right there and then it just didn't pan out. But we knew it. I don't blame anything but myself. I knew, even as after that pork call, I'm talking to my wife Kim, and I go, brisket wasn't good. You knew it wasn't good. She goes, no, I know it's not good. And some people at the contest are like, hey, my brisket sucked, but they're pandering.
Yeah.
Like they're just blowing smoke up your ass. I 100% knew brisket sucked. And it got the score that it deserved. So it wasn't, I'm not mad at it. There were no judges that I was mad about. I didn't need to audit the box. That was right. And so it is what it is. I can live with it. I don't have to be happy about it. I'm super happy for Paul from Smoke and Ghost and Brian from Meet Me in St. Louis for winning. Those guys had a hell of a cook. They deserve all the accolades that they get for it. Absolutely. It's a different situation, for sure, from what happened a couple years earlier at the Royal, where we reserved and we lost that contest by 0.4 of a point to fire at the end of the day. But that's a different situation. We got 1 call, and then you hear your name for reserve. That's unexpected. You don't think that's going to happen. You're not sitting there going, "Oh my God, I think we have this." No, you're sitting on your hands going, "What are we eating when this is over?" So you got no problems realizing that that's happened. But yeah, that's our second That's our second world championship we've lost by less than half a point. So you go, I got to figure this out. And so the last 2 weeks, I have pretty much thought about nothing but brisket. And luckily, we did okay last weekend with it.
Yeah, you did pretty good. No, man, like I said, I mean, you're consistently, I mean, you're the most consistent call the whole weekend when I saw you. And I mean, you're a hell of a cook. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Barbecue is a lot about, putting good quality food in a box, but, there's always a luck factor and a human error factor in this game, unfortunately. And, you just got to kind of pray to the barbecue guys that you get on, not vegan tables, and you get some decent judges. But man, you definitely are putting out consistently great food. So, I mean, I have zero doubt that you're going to be hearing your name as a world champion here for too long.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, it's like anything like the big contest. It's like you got to cook damn near perfect anyways. It's like that's the difference between, like, I was talking to my wife, the difference between like 38th and first is only a handful of points. Like especially in the Master Series. I mean, first place and 30th place is probably like 4 points separate, or 5 points, different, especially the Royal. Like the Royal, you not only have to cook perfect, you have to you get lucky too.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, the top 15 or on some, not top 15, probably top 10 at least, are all 180s.
Yeah, so I mean something like that. I know last year at the Royal, at the Invitational, we tied with a perfect for ribs. We lost that to Hot Daddies. They won the coin toss and won the square trophy and all that kind of stuff. And when it's a perfect, there's nothing you could have done. But there were 3, I think, 180s that weren't perfects. But in the as far as the score is concerned, a 180 is a perfect score. So that happens. The dessert contest alone can show you there can be 50 180s, and somebody still has to be called the winner.
Always a 180. Like I said, you just got, when it comes to dessert, I feel like you got it. As long as you cook cheesecakes. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna lead lead the revolution of, can we ban cheesecakes from KCBS?
Or just make it a cheesecake category.
Yeah, that's what it needs to be. That's what it is. It's an unofficial cheesecake category. I'm like, stop it. You get, like, because I want something like, if I ever hear of anybody winning with like a key lime pie, like that to me is a better win than winning the whole thing. Like if you get first place with like a key lime pie or banana pudding, or I was going to do a tres leches, and like, nope, I can't compete against cheesecake.
So this will make you feel better. B3 Barbecue, who did win dessert at the Royal last year, was not a cheesecake. It was Mike Burke, his dad and his sister Hannah are the team, and Hannah does the desserts. And it was like a gooey butter cake kind of thing, but it wasn't a cheesecake. And if she's watching, or if I'm wrong, but I swear it wasn't a cheesecake. But it was amazing.
Oh yeah,
it was so good.
I'm sorry, there's so much better desserts. Like cheesecake ranks so low on the list for me of amazing desserts that should get recognition, and they've gotten their fair share. So let's ban cheesecakes or make it a cheesecake only competition and move on from there. That's my little whatever rant.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, thanks for my TED Talk. It's like the Griffith, like to say on Family Guy, this really grinds my gears. It's freaking cheesecakes. No. Anywho, going back to it. Now, what is one thing, like, if you could change something in KCBS, what is one rule that you think you would change?
I'd like to see there be a little bit of a better outreach in terms of getting new teams to come back, because KCBS is not necessarily a what's the best barbecue contest. It's what's the best barbecue within this very specific niche. And a lot of new teams, when they first come out to a contest, they just don't know what the game that they're playing is. Right? Like we talked about it earlier, that I had a lot of advantages where I knew what the game was when I showed up. But a lot of teams, when they first come out, their families told them they cook good barbecue. Their friends have told them they cook good barbecue, but they may very well cook great barbecue, but they don't know how to cook KCBS barbecue.
Yeah.
And I don't think most of us, if we were honest, would cook that shit to feed our families more often than not.
No.
It's so overdone, but that's what the game is. That's what you're trying to hit. And so I wish there was a little bit more education for new teams on what the game really is. and also kind of explaining what the weekend's going to be like. So when they get there, having somebody explain, garnish is optional, but really do garnish. We've tried to reach, to help new teams, and we've seen them a couple times. Sometimes they take the advice, sometimes they don't. That's fine. I'd also like to see at the end of a contest, you take that team that has never come out before and maybe it didn't go the way they want, have the reps or have another team read the scorecard with them and explain
Mhm.
to them what these scores mean. Because,
Yeah.
you show up and you get in fives and sixes, but you didn't know what the game was to begin with. How discouraged are you and how likely are you not to come back again? That doesn't help barbecue.
Right.
I think the more information that new teams have when they first start can only make them want to come back, because we can't
Mhm.
all guarantee that that first contest is going to be the first call. But at least if they feel like they understood what they were in, they may want to try again.
Right. What do you think is more welcoming, like for new teams? Take competitiveness out of it, because I mean I feel like it's pretty much two meet pros, four meet pros. But for a new team coming into like a backyard contest versus coming into a Masters four meet contest, I mean I feel like the overall experience as far as enjoyability is better in the backyard contest, because I feel like there's still a social aspect of it in that category versus you go to a pro comp. I mean, Lord, everybody's in their trailers by 7 p.m. And it's very that not a lot of not camaraderie, because I mean obviously you're friends with everybody, but it's everybody's kind of shut down pretty early, and for new teams it's definitely intimidating
Absolutely.
seeing all that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you there. Because I mean, when we were first starting out, we cooked under a pop up. There's still people that do cook under pop ups. And I think that just naturally lends itself to being more social with your neighbors because you're seeing them, right? You're
Hmm.
not huddled in your porch or inside your trailer or, whatever it is. You're outside next to the person. So I don't know if it's something where, new teams should be put next to seasoned teams so maybe they can bounce ideas off of or get information. But it's also, I think, yeah, you're right. Backyard is a little bit more open where that's concerned, but I do think the nature of the pop-up tents and that leads to that.
Hmm. I don't think backyards is so much, because when I started backyard 2019, uh, I was doing some competitive series and some local yokel ones and stuff like that. And you saw a lot of tents, and because I was under one, a lot of tents and a lot of car sleeping and staying up all night, stuff like that. Which I mean, it's a blast. I feel like for your first contest, you absolutely have to pay your dues, sleep under a tent or get no sleep and stay up all night, all that jazz. Uh, but now, I mean, you go pull up to a backyard comp. I mean, there's just as many rigs. Like if you're from the outside looking in, there's no difference. You can't tell a difference between a backyard comp and a pro comp as far as the equipment standpoint. Because I mean,
Yeah,
most
for
of the
sure.
backyard teams
For
I
sure.
see, I mean, got the same trailers as any pro team. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just more of a social aspect in the backyard as versus some of the pro comps I've been to. Like I said, when I first started, I cooked pro because I was cooking for a restaurant that just wanted a competition team under their belt, and I learned a ton. I met a lot of great people, and I'm just the kind of guy, like if you're not going to talk to me, I'm going to walk up and sit down in the middle of a circle where I know nobody and start talking. So I'm sure I
Right.
pissed off a lot of people and I asked a ton of questions. But if you're not a personality like me, going into some of that stuff, it's kind of hard and intimidating. I think it's mainly because there's so many nice people in the barbecue, and both sides of the game. Uh, but it's more of an intimidation factor walking in and asking for help versus I guess you seeing somebody outside and just sparking up a conversation.
Yeah. I think it falls a lot on us as cooks to be those people that go up and introduce ourselves to new teams and make that connection and invite them to the 922 or
Hmm.
sit by them during the cooks meeting or something like that. And I'm as guilty of it as everybody that we don't always do that. I don't always get to the cooks
Sure.
meeting if we arrive late or I'm in the middle of something. But if there's a new team that's next to us and it's obvious that they're brand new, I do always try to go over and say
Yeah.
hi and introduce myself and ask them if they have any questions or, hey, have you seen a box before? I'm not telling you this is a right box, but this is a box kind of a thing. Um,
Right.
it's because I don't know. It feels like paying it forward a little bit, but I think we can all stand to do a little bit more of it if the
Absolutely.
goal is to grow the activity.
We got to. I mean, we got to grow it. It's like business. If it's not growing, it's dying. And you definitely want to have. I love seeing new faces and new blood, and at the comps we're at, and I'm starting to see a lot more here recently. I don't know how it is on a lot of the pro comps circuits you've been to, but I'm starting to see a lot more new blood and new people trying stuff out. So it's encouraging to see that, because like I said, without new teams and sport dying, then we all just have a bunch of overpriced rigs for a hobby that we can't do no more.
Right.
No. So what is your like area you cook in, and like what are some of the differences you see in the different regions that you cooked in? Like you're in like a mecca for, especially in pro, like for backyard around me, like I'm in the kind of a mecca because the Alabama circuit, there's just you drive 10 miles and you run over a comp. But the Missouri, Kansas City area, I mean, you're essentially the Alabama backyard. I mean, you have pro comp probably within what, an hour you every comp.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you basically take that net and put it to about 2.5 hours, you could do a full season from where we live.
It's crazy.
Um, I actually probably traveled further as the backyard cook than we have since we've been in Masters, but that was because we didn't have many backyard contests of where we are.
Mm-hmm.
So that first year we went, we were in Kansas City as much as we could. We went down by St. Louis. We went up to Minnesota. We went to Tennessee, or not Tennessee. We went to Oklahoma a few times. And so I felt like we kind of branched out a little bit more there.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you what the different flavor profiles were because I don't think we ever quite figured it out outside of Kansas City. I was as shocked as anybody that we did well in Tennessee, considering, like I said, we sat on our hands the previous year, so I thought I was for sure didn't know what to cook down there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really just, you hit the right set of tables on a certain day, and that may give you as much of a leg up as anything else.
Sure.
But yeah, it's more, I don't know if it's more the personalities change depending on where you go, but I think it's the same for the judging as much as it is for the cooks, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we see a lot of the same cooks at most of the contests that we cook because we're all around here, or it's
Mm-hmm.
convenient for certain teams to come up here. And that's probably likewise for judging. So if you see a certain organizer, maybe that has a similar set of judges as another contest those organizers or those reps did because they liked them. And so you kind of, you're almost, it's all a big, it's clicks everywhere
Sure.
you go.
Sure. Absolutely. I want to venture more out into different locations the next couple of years. Like I want to travel and go to like a far off, comp. Like as cooking pro like you, are you points chasing or are you jack chasing? I feel like there's two different types of pros. There's you're going to points chase or you want to jack chase. Which ones are you thought about making a run at points?
So we've finished, I think we finished top 20 in team of the year last year, but it wasn't, there was no real conscious effort to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
because we can hit so many contests within a reasonable distance, it's easier for us to do that with points wise. As far as jack chasing, it's really hard to win here. It's really hard to win everywhere. I shouldn't say it's hard to win here. It's hard to win everywhere. It's, those guys that can do 7 in a year, it's an unbelievable thing to be able to do, to auto to the jack, right? I don't know if we'll ever be those people. I'd love to be those people. Absolutely. That's the goal. If you would ask me which one I would rather do, I would rather be known as somebody who can auto the jack than a team of the year chase. And the reason being, I work for a commercial real estate company. I have a boss. I have a schedule that I can't take off to go do what you have to do to chase team of the year points in Master Series. The commitment that those guys have to do is unbelievable. I mean, it's every weekend away from your family or with your family in the car that a lot of them have to do. But I can't afford to go up to, I can't make the drive up to Michigan or make the drive down to Texas or go to the East Coast every weekend to chase this thing. So I have to do what we can where we're at. So I think for us, if we're going after anything, it's, I want to see how high we can hit in certain categories. Like right now, our chicken's been really good this year, so I'm curious to see where that can end by the end of the year. But there's no real conscious goal to it, other than personal achievement.
Like when you're mapping out your season, do you map out your season at the beginning of the year for the whole year, or do you kind of play by ear throughout the season? And do you pick specifically contests that, possible auto bid, like in certain areas? Like, are you going to drive more, willing to drive farther for an auto bid contest?
So I'll pick. There's a handful of contests at the beginning of the year. I know I'm going to try to cook, and I'll try to block out the schedule to cook those. Smoke in the Spring in Osage City, Kansas, is 100%. It's a 100-team contest, unbelievable contest, and we love doing that one. We're always going to cook the Royal because it's 25 minutes from the house. We're going to cook some of the bigger, the contests that we like around where we live. I'd really like to do more, pick a faraway contest and do that once a year. I know my wife, Kim, wants to do that. We may do that starting next year or the year after, just based on when our kid's a little bit older and she's a little less of a liability to take with us.
Yes.
But it's as far as trying to pick a contest based on if it's an auto, we got into the Jack that way. But that was a 3-hour from home contest in Omaha on Labor Day weekend. So
Right.
there were a lot of factors for going to do that. It was a Saturday, Sunday contest. We had Monday off, and it was 3 hours from the house.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, man, this is a time of show where we like to have our lightning round brought to you by Brothers Q Barbecue Supply Lightning Round. Brothers Barbecue Supply for all your barbecue supply needs. Man, I'm messing this stuff up. See, I need my partner to make fun of me when I do that. But yeah, so we're gonna ask you I'm gonna ask you a few questions, just little one-liners. Don't think too hard about it. And you ready to roll?
Let's go.
All right, man. Who is going to be on your barbecue meet Everest?
Ooh,
if you had
okay.
your biggest mentors in barbecue, who's on your meet Everest?
All right. So is it biggest mentors in barbecue, or who I think are kind of like the goats of barbecue? I'm ruining the lightning round by asking additional questions, but
we'll do meet Rushmore. So we'll do top 4, and then you can give me a little bit of each.
So if I'm talking about our biggest mentors, who I would put on that as kind of the pillars for us, I'm gonna do Meat Rushmore Barbecue. They're some of our best friends in that. I'm gonna do Man Meat Barbecue on there. I'm gonna put Jordan from Janky Leg on there. I respect the hell out of him, and he's always answered my questions when I've asked him. So that's somebody that I like the way he cooks. I like the fact that he cooks with, he's got his family. I think he's doing things the right way. So he's somebody that I really look up to where that's concerned. I'll do JDQ Barbecue, both Josh and Jeremy. Man Meat Barbecue, if I hadn't already said them, would definitely be one. I've bounced a shitload of stuff off of Aaron. And Aaron and Christy have become really good friends. I mean, we've got so many hand-me-down clothes from them for our daughter. It's awesome. So they've got to be up there. Oh man, it's too many. If you got to go 4, oh shit. God, I don't like the lightning round. I like to, I prefer thinking about my questions.
Nope.
Yeah, we'll do, we'll also add in Mr. Greg Hasty from American Fire Barbecue. He's gotten to be something that, it's harder to get him to stop talking than it is to get him to start talking. So we've learned a lot there just by the nature of 2-hour conversations at the store when all I came in for was a slab of ribs.
I got you. All right, man. If you're going to pick out a slab of ribs, rank these in order of best or most important to least important. You got thickness, marbling, and then you also got the brand.
I'm going to go brand number 1. It's going to be Prairie Fresh for me every single time. Number 2, I'm going to go thickness, because a super thin slab of ribs, there isn't as much that you can do with them. I think you're going to have a bigger tendency to dry them out. And then we'll go marbling 2A. I think you could kind of flip back and forth between marbling and thickness. I tend to look at even thickness left or right more so than the marbling, because I think if you're buying Prairie Fresh, you're getting the marbling.
Sure. All right, man. And this is a question I've actually enjoyed the last few episodes, but In the Catholic religion, the Pope has the Pope Mobile. In KCBS, what should the president of KCBS, if he had his own automobile name, what would it be called?
Oh shit. So this probably isn't right, but when we first started, I thought about calling the team the Cubaroo. So we'll say the Cubaroo.
The Q. I like that one. That's different. All right, man. If you're going on vacation, are you going to the beach or the mountains?
Personally, I'm going mountains.
Mountains. All right,
I'm not
man.
built for hot weather.
Awesome. All right, man. If you could tell a new team that's get into competition barbecue, what is one tip that you would give them?
Work your timeline.
All right. Last question. A team transferring from backyard to pro, what is advice that you wish somebody gave you at the beginning?
Try to understand that, like I said earlier, it's a game of averages. So don't get so high on trying to win a category. Understand you have to be competent at all four.
Right. What is one thing you always have in your trailer at a competition that you can't cook without, and you cannot set your thermopin?
For me, it's going to be my timeline up on a television.
Timeline up on the television.
I never use it, but I have to have it.
All right, man.
It is a comfort thing where I need to be able to just look up and have it right there. It's on a USB stick plugged into a TV, and that's how we look at our time at our contest through the day. I need those little reminders of where I need to be at.
Yeah. So you got like a little digital menu of timelines on your TV and your thing. That's awesome. I need to do that on mine. All right, last
reminder for the longest time. And then when we upgraded to the trailer that we have now, we had a mount to the TV in, so I put the TV in. I was like, I'm just going to put this on a USB stick, and so it's on there. And we have versions for every type of contest we do. If there's an ancillary, there's one that has the ancillary on there. If it's the Royal, it's the one that's got 9 turn-ins on it. For God's sake, the Jack had its own version, but having that up there is just a peace of mind that I like having.
I got you. Awesome, man. All right, last question of the night. What is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started competition barbecue?
Something I wish I knew was just how goddamn addicting it was going to be, and how it basically becomes the thing you think about every single day. I was not really prepared for that, but I really love it. Awesome.
Well, man, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. You have been a blast to hang out with, and I hope you had a good time too. This is the kind of time of the show where I'll give you kind of your moment to give shout out to your sponsors or let people know where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. I had a great time. Yeah, I'll definitely love to shout out the sponsors, Royal Oak Charcoal, best charcoal on the planet. We couldn't do what we do without them. It's, it fuels every single cook we do, and we love that. Man Meat Barbecue for rubs, sauces, injections. JDQ Barbecue for rubs. And then our only other sponsor is Block Real Estate Services, which is my work. So it's nice that they agree to take some of the leftovers and pay me a little bit for it. So it's nice.
Hey, for sure, man, for sure. Well, man, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I truly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing your name called at future contests because, like I said, I definitely foresee a world championship in front of your name before too long. And I hope to see you at the Royal this year, man. I maybe I'll hit the lottery and get top 30 or something.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Hopefully you get to walk the stage of the Royal because it's an unbelievable feeling. If anybody wants to stay up to date with what we're doing, just go find Beef and Swine on Instagram and Facebook. We're there. And if you're in a contest, come say hi.
Absolutely. Well, man, Ryan, thank you so much, man. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
See you, buddy. All right, guys, that's our show, man. That was a great one. I truly appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. As always, if you like what you see and see what you like, make sure you like, subscribe, share, tell your friend, tell your mama, tell your grandmama. Everybody needs to be hanging out with us Mondays at 7. And if you don't catch us tonight, make sure you can always check us out on Apple or Spotify. So, guys, thank you again so much for hanging out. We're going to have another great one. I mean, this dude was a killer on the grill. So I hope you guys learned some stuff and had as much fun as I did. So, all right, man. Well, that's our show. And as always, when it comes to barbecue, make sure you're always right on cue. Later, guys.
That's all, folks.